Good afternoon. My name is Kristen Neumann. I am a recent graduate from Flathead Valley Community College, and I wanted to address the board to share some of my experiences and thoughts over the course of my 3 years here at FVCC as an international student. But before I begin, I would like to pass out copies of my remarks to each person so that they may be entered into the minutes. I moved to the Flathead Valley in 2023 with the express intent to attend FVCC. If you would ask any number of the advisors I've had during my tenure here, they would all attest to the fact that I have mentioned that it was my dream to move to Montana and attend FVCC. Unfortunately, my time here was anything but a dream, especially in the last year and a half. When I moved to Montana, I knew that I would only be allowed to work on campus due to my F1 visa status, which was not something that I was at all upset over. I got my first job working in the cafeteria, which was, at the time, under the management of Kyron Neer. When Kyron interviewed me, I informed him of my severe anaphylactic allergies to peanuts and tree nuts and asked him if they would be an issue. He assured me that they would not be and proceeded to come up with a plan with me to ensure that all operations of the cafeteria would be able to be maintained while also accommodating my health restrictions. The plan we came up with is that I would fulfill my hours in the cafeteria in the mornings so the cafeteria staff could use the afternoons to cook or bake anything with peanuts and tree nuts after I had left. On Fridays, when I worked a full 8-hour day, it was decided by Kyron that I would do the bulk of the cookie baking so that all that was left to bake on weekday afternoons was peanut butter cookies. When Kyron left in the summer of 2024, I was given Meta Seifer's phone number and informed she would be the new manager of the cafeteria. I made an intentional effort to text her a few times to introduce myself to her and to give her a courteous heads up about my allergies, because I knew it was a discussion that we'd need to have upon my return back to Montana. When I arrived back, we had a conversation, and it seemed like the understanding and plan implemented by the previous manager would be a workable plan to continue on with. Unfortunately, that is not what happened. Multiple times I walked into work to discover food being made or baked that had peanuts or tree nuts, resulting in my having to leave work to ensure my physical safety. Initially, Meta wanted proof of my allergies, so I showed her my EpiPen, which, as you can see, I forgot it in my purse, has my name, birth date, and reason for needing it on the pharmacist's label. Unfortunately, this was not proof enough and ultimately resulted in Meta getting the college's CFO, Laurel Davies, involved in the situation. This, quite frankly, made the problem even worse. At least it did for myself. There was a specific occasion in late September of 2024 that I was at work and was asked without notice to leave work and have a talk with Laura and Meta privately. In the meeting, Laurel told me that my EpiPen wasn't proof enough of my allergies and that my, quote, asking for an accommodation without sufficient proof that I actually do have the allergies I'm claiming to have, quote, could lead to ridiculous things like people asking for purple rainbows in their office. I had attempted to explain that I couldn't get in to see my doctor back in Canada, even for a phone appointment, until late November. She then proceeded to inform me that I didn't know what I was talking about because she, quote, lived in Canada for 15 years. In the end, I had to drive 16-hour round trip to Canada and back to sneak in to see my doctor with my mother because of the refusal to work together to come up with a compromise that would suit all parties involved. Just to end up not only being removed from my position in the cafeteria, but then also having my hours drastically cut because the CFO didn't want to allot the same level of payment out to me. So now not only was I in a position where I was being kicked out of the job I had and loved for a year, I was also being put in a precarious position financially. Fast forward to fall of 2025. I came back to the school assuming I had a job in the position in admissions and registration that I had been given in lieu of the cafeteria. Much to my surprise, I was told that I had to wait until September or early October to see if a work-study student would take the job first, and given no alternatives of what I could do for work. Merely just wait and see. It's only by the grace of God that I had been awarded a larger scholarship and wasn't in dire financial straits during this month and a half waiting period. In the end, I had to find a new job, and thankfully, with the advocacy of Wendy Jeschke, was able to secure a position working for student engagement, assisting in running and maintaining the college's FVCC Connect app, among other duties. Because of these events, many times over the course of the 2024-2025 school year, I felt completely and totally devalued, dehumanized, belittled, and disregarded. So much so that I considered dropping out more than once. Thankfully, my dad's wise words rang clear and true in my ear time and again. Kristen, you're a Neumann. Quitting isn't an option. You may be wondering why I've decided to say something now, a year and a half after the fact. And the truth of the matter is that I was worried that if I rocked the boat too much, I'd be out of a job altogether, which was not an option. That being said, I realized that not saying something was also not an option, not only for myself, but for any future student, international or otherwise, who may come in with the same health issues. For me and millions of others just like myself, this isn't only a food aversion. It is a life or death situation. No one should feel so demeaned and belittled to the point that they feel like they're being told their life is less important than cooking something with an allergen as commonly severe as mine. Harvard University, the most famous Ivy League university in this country, is among the hundreds of universities across the United States that have a peanut and tree nut-free policy in place. Closer to home, the University of Montana is another. If these universities, which are exponentially larger than this one, can institute these policies in not only their cafeterias, but in many cases, the whole campus, I don't see why it's not a viability to do so here, as I have been told throughout the course of this entire fiasco. I want to make it clear, I am not saying these things because I'm trying to seek some kind of retribution against anyone. I'm saying these things now because my chief concern is for the young 17 or 18-year-old who might be coming from a place of not having the same kind of support behind them at home as I did, or who might not have the courage to advocate for themselves. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my remarks this afternoon. I hope you take them into account for the health and safety of future students and potentially even staff.